you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up is approval of the agenda.
I'll move for the approval of the agenda for May 28, 2024.
Second.
Been moved in second. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. The agenda is approved. Next is public hearing.
Can you speak up, please?
Can you hear back there?
Full microphone for...
I think they're on. We'll just have to.
They're on.
People hear back there?
Manor.
Thank you.
Speak up.
Any better?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go.
So first is the public hearing on the fiscal year 24-25 budget. And Scott, you want to?
Sure. I will go through at a decent pace. A PowerPoint presentation that has been modified a little bit, but we used this last week during the City Council budget work session. So this is our fiscal year 24-25 budget. Starts July 1st and goes through June 30th of 2025. And I'm just going to hit some of the highlights. The general fund, which in essence is the administration, cemetery, clerk, parks and police departments, among others. The difference between revenues and expenditures is a $174,000 net decrease. We currently have a fund balance of over $1 million. When we go all through it, we'll end up with a fund balance of $895,000, which just puts us slightly below our target fund balance. Some of the highlights, we budgeted for 3 council members to go to the MML convention on Mackinac Island. That's always a very popular one. Don't really know why. Fireworks contribution of $5,000. We have the senior millage in there of $15,400, but we have yet to determine where those appropriations will go. We're looking at cleaning the air ducts in City Hall. It's been at least 20 years, if not 25 to 30, since they've been cleaned. MERS retirement funding, we are adding additional funding so that we get closer to 100% of our funding of our Michigan Employees Retirement System pension. This year there's no additional sidewalk repair funding, but we are looking at doing $45,000 in the next 2 fiscal years. Public Works Director Brian Armstrong has estimated we need $90,000 yet to bring all the sidewalks up to where we want them. We spent about $90,000 this current fiscal year to do that. We've added a number of porta-johns at various locations and for various events. We have a DNR grant application, actually 2 of them, one for Funnell and one for G Park. The total project is $230,000. Our local match is over $100,000. If we don't get the grants, then the City Council has the option to allocate that $100,000 towards one or both of those park projects. Basically do what we can with less money. We are also taking in $118,000, $200 in marijuana tax money. That's money that our 2 provisioning shops are submitting to the state of Michigan, and then we get a portion of that back. The bottom line is that the cost of living increase of 4.5%, and that is based on the Detroit Consumer Price Index. The cemetery trust is our perpetual care. That's a portion of the sale for cemetery plots that is put into a fund. We can only draw a certain percent of that every year. We don't have a target fund balance because that's not necessarily an annual operating type of budget. But what we do is when we have to do some major projects, one is a new entry sign for $22,000 and the roof on the Sexton office. We just completed repaving all of the roads in the cemetery this fiscal year, again with money from the cemetery trust. Major streets, primarily Alice, Benston, Lake, Mears, and Warner Street. The difference between revenues and expenses is a net increase of over $104,000. We'll be adding that to the current fund balance and building that up so that at the end of next fiscal year, we'll have $427,000 available for future road projects. This coming fiscal year, we're looking at transferring $30,000 to the local street fund to help out that fund. We're looking at purchasing 2 speed radar signs. They're basically the ones that'll flash the speed, well, they'll tell you what the speed limit is, and they'll flash what your speed is in hopes of getting a little more compliance out on the roads. And as I mentioned, building reserves for future street projects. Local streets are all of those that weren't listed above. We're looking at a net decrease of $45,000 in next year's fiscal year. We have a healthy fund balance and we'll be left with over $11,000 above our target fund balance. And basically, we're looking at 30% of the annual operating expenditures as our target fund balance. That just gives us some rainy day funds for emergencies and a little cushion should revenues not come in where we anticipated. The salvage inspection is anybody who has a vehicle that is totaled and wants to get it back on the road has to go through an inspection. We have a certified officer on staff. So it's not a huge fund, obviously only $2,700 in revenues, $1,100 in expenses, and we do have a comfortable fund balance. The marijuana fund are for our 2 retail facilities. The revenues are basically the annual local permit fee. They're not associated with the tax. We'll have a slight net increase and we'll be about $24,000 above the target. This money is restricted. We can only spend it on administration and enforcement of, or monitoring, the 2 marijuana facilities. A lot of the expenses are dedicated towards our police department doing routine inspections of the facilities. The brownfield is basically Tannery Bay, $920,000 in revenues, $945,000 in expenses. There will be a decrease, but we will still be $4,000 above the target fund balance. The highlights in the brownfield is just under $1 million in due care reimbursement. That goes to Eastbrook Homes. Basically, that's everything above what was required of the prior owner, Genesco. So Genesco was supposed to make it environmentally safe to a certain level. Eastbrook Homes is taking it above that level. We're using the captured tax money out on that site to reimburse for those costs. And I think right now we're at about $1.9 million left in total obligations that Eastbrook Homes could claim against that due care reimbursement. The Tifa is basically the downtown, then we kind of meander south down Mears Avenue, taking all of the Palmet facilities. Revenues of $1.4 million, expenses of $1.7 million. We will decrease by $300,000, but we will still be well above the target fund balance by $363,000. If I'm reading those correct. I do see, Councilmember Zemer, when you do get further away, it's a little harder to read. Highlights in the TIFA, DNR grant application, again, we're looking at, we've submitted 3 to the state of Michigan. This is for $78,000 in Goodrich Park. If we don't get it, we can use our $37,000 local match for improvements to Goodrich Park. Project Clear Sky is an industrial investment in which we're looking at a multi-million-dollar project and up to 200 jobs created. We're assisting in that, along with the state of Michigan. Tannery Bay Public Access, we have acquired a piece of property just north of Bush Creek that is currently, well, it's adjacent to Tannery Bay. The property owner, well, the company, Eastbrook Homes, donated $30,000 to the city to develop that as a very environmentally friendly, low-key developed public access. We're looking at another $30,000 from TIFA. So we have $60,000 to put in some walkways, some picnic tables, probably a fishing deck if we can get that for $60,000. We're also looking at the downtown parking lots, which you probably have, most of you have seen, are currently gravel. That is a $720,900 expense that's already been allocated. A chunk of that is going to carry over into this fiscal year. The pass-through is any money that Tifa does not use. We give that back to the other taxing jurisdictions. That's typically been between $400,000 and $500,000 per year. We're also looking at a property acquisition that's 104 Thompson Street, or more commonly known as Big John's. We're looking at purchasing more banners and downtown holiday decorations, total of $34,000. And Tifa is looking to start building up their reserves to do some major work on Benston Avenue. The inspection fund is property and rentals. We contract with Muskegon Charter Township to do that service. Revenues are slightly above expenditures, and we're still well above our target fund balance at $70,000. The LDFA is the city industrial park down on the southwest corner of the city. Revenues of $380, $239 in expenses. We'll have a net increase of $141, well above our target fund balance, because we are looking at building a reserve for street resurfacing in the industrial park. Our capital projects, streets, sewer, and water. We're projecting $1.3 million in revenues, a like amount in expenditures, a slight decrease in the fund balance, but we don't have a target fund balance. That's not an operating budget, it's more of a capital. So if it's there, we spend it. We don't pay administration or lights, utilities out of that project. The big one right now is Warner Street. A lot of that will carry over into next fiscal year. The Playhouse, this is their operating budget. They have revenues of just over $400,000. Of that, $110,000 comes from sponsorships and donations. What we've proposed to the city council is that the $118,000 marijuana tax, half of that goes to the Playhouse for operating, the other half would go to the police department for their capital needs. Squad cars, bulletproof vests, body cameras, those type of expenditures. And then about $57,000 in grants that Beth and Cindy Beth apply for on a rotating basis. It does show a net increase of $26,000, but we also have $83,000 in depreciation to account for. We do have a decent unrestricted fund balance. However, we go to the debt. This is the money that the city collected, most of it, for the renovations and expansion of the Playhouse. We are doing quite well as far as collections, but we have had some donors that have decided not to live up to their commitments. So we want to hang on to that reserve because obviously we want to pay off our debt and make sure that there's no default on the Playhouse debt. The sewer, $1.8 million in revenues, $1.4 million in expenditures. That does increase our fund balance by over $400,000. But we do have significant future capital improvements. So even though it looks like we're building up a large nest egg, it's going to go pretty quick. And just to point out, 62% of our expenses are for transmission and treatment. That's the resource recovery plant way out on Apple Avenue. That's where all of our sewage goes for treatment. It's a long way away. Water, $1.2 million in revenues, $1.3 million in expenses. We're looking at a decrease, but we do have unrestricted funds to cover that. Future capital improvements of $1 million, and we're still looking at probably $1 million in lead service line replacements. That's a state mandate, kind of as a result of the water crisis over in the city of Flint a few years back. And there's Warner Street. We still have some carryover in the next fiscal year in the lead service line replacements. The marina will look at having a net increase of about $3,300 next fiscal year. That will put us well above the target fund balance. We do have a lot of capital improvements that probably need to be addressed down there. We've applied for grants unsuccessfully last couple of years, so we're probably getting to the point where we just have to bite the bullet and fix them ourselves. Primarily, it's the west pier that sunk a few years ago, It is stable. We've had structural engineers take a look at it, but there is a significant dip in it, and it would be very expensive to fix. That's why we've been trying to get some outside money to help with that. The motor pool is primarily the vehicles and equipment for the Public Works Department, plows, lawnmowers, weed whips, everything down to, a couple of $100 items. Net decrease of $113,000, but we do have a sizable fund balance there. This will get eaten up quite a bit when you start buying those big dump trucks with the plows. Those go for almost $200,000 when you're fully outfitted. For next year, we're looking at doing some parking lot and driveway improvements out at the Public Works Department, a heater for the garage. We're paying off the loader debt, sewer camera. That's basically what it sounds like. We drop a camera in the sewer lines, and we can actually see any roots or any pipe damage so that we can better maintain those. And a loader snow box, which is just a big box on the front of our loader that helps us clear snow in the parking lots. Now the fun part, infrastructure. Basically, we're talking streets. We have an asset management plan that ranked all of the streets, and that's what we've been working off of, basically building the worst streets. I know everybody here, the street in front of your house is probably worse, but we do have a ranking system. And we also look at the water and sewer infrastructure underneath when we look at prioritizing. We have got Lake Street, $1.4 million. Benston Road is about $1.7 million with street and water main replacement. North of Livingston, about $1.1 million for water and street. South of Livingston, another $850,000 for that. Muskegon Avenue, $960,000 for street reconstruction and some minor water main replacement work. The lift station, sewer lift station down on Lake Street is really at the end of its useful life. That's going to be $1.3 million to replace. We also have the force main from that lift station up to the county lift station, force main lift station in front of Crosswinds. That's just under $1 million. And Spring Street water main is $500,000 to replace that. So what we discussed with the city council last week, we've got just over $9 million of near-term infrastructure improvements. So do we go slow and steady or quick and indebted? If we did it slow and steady, we could probably do in 2026, doing the every other year cycle that we've been doing. We could do Lake Street, Benston Road, and the Lake Street sewer lift station. That's $4.5 million. Take a year off, build up some cash. Now we can do north and south of Livingston and the Lake Street force main. That will be about $3.2 million. And then in 2030, we can finish off that list with Muskegon Avenue and the Spring Street water main. So that's kind of the, if we continue the way we have them. If we go indebted, borrow $9.3 million, well, actually it'd be $10 million. But the projects we could probably do in 2026 and 2027. And I'll hit some red and green a little bit. The bonded indebtedness, I touched base with our bond consultant over on the east side of the state. We actually looked at a $5, $7, and a $10 million bond issue for, I think it was 10, 15, and 20-year amortization. I went with the $10 million over 20 years, just for discussion purposes with the city council. The interest rate, now of course this was a month ago, so that's subject to change, hopefully down since we're the ones borrowing. But he used a 4.53%. We'll end up with $800,000 in annual debt service. The total interest cost on that is going to add $6.1 million to that $10 million project. And what I did on this slide, probably not too exciting or sexy, is just to break down all of those projects, what funds the revenues would come from to pay for those projects. And then this just kind of breaks down that $808,000, who would be paying what share of that. And I'll stop, I won't go to the big drum roll yet. Basically, the bottom line is that the city can't afford to borrow the $10 million. I don't think that that would jeopardize our financial status or jeopardize, well, it's gonna make some tight decisions making in the future if we do borrow it, but we can borrow the $10 million. If we go slow, we stay within our financial means, there's less disruption. I mean, you're talking a huge amount of the city torn up for 2 years versus over the course of 6. You get better future financial because as things happen, you don't have $10 million tied up in debt. Obviously, the residential complaints are going to continue. We had a group of 4th graders in City Hall today. They're doing City Hall, they're doing police, they're doing the playhouse. You know, they get to go see Roger in the squad car. Where's Roger at? Somewhere in here? You know, the kids get to see the handcuffs and the guns and the squad cars, and, you know, when they come over, I got slideshows. Which is but one of the kids actually, I mean, a smart group of kids, actually said, so when will you be done with all of the roads? And I said, never, because you're looking at a 20 to 30 year life cycle on a road. So as soon as we get done with that last road, we're starting all over again. If you do it quickly, you complete projects in a 3-year period. We can afford borrowing. You will add $6 million in interest costs. So the investment individuals, the firms, and the banks are going to make a lot of money on us. It will shut down Lake Street if we're doing the lift station, the road, and the force main. That's going to be pretty much impassable for a year. It's going to constrain the financial ability of the street millage. Right now, we've raised, $380,000. A majority of that's going to go to debt. So now you don't have that money to do other streets. It's going to require significant utility rate increases, and you're going to have limited contractors. In the Muskegon County and probably the Grand Rapids area, there's very few companies that have the ability to do $10 million in a 2-year period. So, you know, supply and demand, if you've got less contractors, you know, they might not have their pencils as sharp as we would like them to be. And I think that's, well, I think I got one more. So, staff is recommending that we go slow and steady. And this is where normally the audience would grumble. But we don't think that it's worth $6 million and a major disruption to finish 3 years earlier. We would be asking council to support this. We're going to continue to have these conversations and just ask that the residents and the audience understands that a little patience will save us $6 million over the 20 years of that retirement. So that's all I've got, Your Honor. And
All right.
I have one question.
Yes.
Before we get too much further into it. I have quite a few comments and questions that pertain to the budget. I don't know whether you want to hear them now or if you want to wait until the, until the resolution comes up, or.
well, it's the mayor's meeting, but I think this would be the public hearing where we hear from the public, and then your comments would be down on the resolution 2420.
Okay, thank you.
So this is the opportunity for the public to make comments. If you'd like to make a comment, step up to the microphone and give your name and limit yourself to 3 minutes, please.
I might go 3 minutes and 20 seconds, but is that okay? But hello, Mayor and fellow council. My name is, can you hear me back there? My name is Eli. I live at 906 South Cove Circle in Whitehall. I'd like to take a few minutes and hopefully place a few seat starters for you before you decide on the millage rate levies tonight. However, first I have a small complaint about how the messaging for the recent fire authority tax millage was brought to us. There were 2 meetings to inform the residents of the community. However, they were scheduled the day after the city council meeting. Fire Chief McCarthy met with the residents on April 24th, and the city council meeting was on the 23rd. And the next city council meeting was the day of the vote. So residents did not have a chance to come and ask questions to the council. Once we understood that this millage is a standalone millage, I thought Fire Chief McCarthy did a great job explaining his budget and why the fire authority needed the funding, of which I have no qualms about that. However, he could not explain why the city does not budget for the service. Not one council person or city hall representative was present at the first meeting to help defend that millage. So the city, our elected officials that we entrust to make decisions on our behalf are not under stress or duress to manage the budget for the fire authority, since they get the money regardless. I bet if more people knew that, there would have been a mob here asking questions, but since the meeting was strategically held after the city council meeting, we did not have that opportunity. If that vote was turned down, the city would have had to be looking for ways to find funding to keep us safe. However, the citizens of the city of Whitehall came again to the rescue because we love the city. I'm sure there's enough money to fund these services and to fund some of what the school is looking for, as long as the city becomes better servants of our hard-earned tax revenue that we pay. Whitehall is one of the highest millage cities in Michigan. It's almost a crime of what we get charged. But I knew that coming in here when I moved 5 years ago. What I didn't know is how easy we spend it. Just look at what you're proposing here on page 39. Your revenues are shy of your expenses. Everything that Manager Scott said is a total about $310,000 shy of what your expenses are. In what realm is that acceptable? Please stop spending our money without care. You need to be servants of our money. You cannot continue to just come to the residents with your hat in hand and keep asking us for more. Why do we need all these pocket parks and amphitheater, etc.? If you had responsibility for budgeting for a fire department or giving our schools the money they needed in the last minute's request, you could have paid for them, rather than just keep asking us for more money. Never in my career did I have an open checkbook in my business. Every project, decision, or investment needed to be explained, had to be explained, and had to find a way to fund it within the budget I had. I just couldn't go and get another millage increase. So please, tonight, when it comes to passing the new levies, I truly hope some of you are brave enough not to vote in favor, but make the motion to look for ways to reducing the spending. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Surprised when all these people are here. There's not more people starting to come up. David Hostica. I've been kind of a nuisance about Koval Park for the last few meetings.
Speak
and
up,
I
please.
guess-
Can't hear you.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Is that better?
No.
Is this turned on or does it work?
You gotta talk right into
You gotta talk right into it. Is that better? Anyway, I've been here over several meetings past and kind of been a little bit of a nuisance about the maintenance of Colville Park. And I've been citing the master plan, which is published on the behalf of the city of Whitehall, and how it explains, and I can read, these are the same papers that I brought last meeting, and how Colville Park in the master plan, quote, Colville Park is located at the very north end of Whitehall and features a paved parking lot with ADA compliant access to the water and fishing pier. The park provides small watercraft, canoes, kayaks, etc., with access to the White River and is primarily used for fishing. Several picnic tables are also located, blah, 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 and it mentions that the access to the trail is also there. That's fine, great, except you're not doing it. There's no access to the water. Take a look at the White River, the bank of the White River. It's completely inaccessible. Completely inaccessible. And I know you guys don't need to respond to anybody that's during the public comment part of it or whatever, but I didn't see anything in the budget talking about bringing the master plan up to actual, the level of maintenance and actually the verbiage that's published in your master plan. With respect, I heard a couple comments about some parks getting money. Nothing about Koval. How do I get anybody's attention? Or am I out of line? Bringing it to your, either that or adjust the master plan to reflect the fact that you're not going to make access to the river along the river bank in Koval Park. I felt also that it was necessary for me to come tonight because the meeting last time I was here and I explained all this and I had pass outs. I had everybody got a copy of exactly the same thing I have in my hand tonight. Oddly, my comments were deleted from the video, the Catchmark video, which I thought was odd. And they said something about technical difficulties. Like, oh, specifically the 3 minutes of my conversation with the public.
You've had your 3 minutes, thank you.
That was the only thing that got deleted. Thank you, Your Honor.
Stop. Right.
Well, I'm going to ask a rhetorical question.
Can I ask, can the volume be turned up? We cannot hear you guys out
We just
there.
need
The
to
people up
raise,
there
we just
and
need to
the-
raise this microphone so I
Thank
can
you so
speak
much.
directly into
No,
it.
I don't think that one's on. That one on, Jerry?
You make sure, yeah, there you go. There you go.
Test. There we go. How about that? What a difference. I'm going to ask a rhetorical question. Somebody can say yes or no here. When you took your oath of office for the city council for the city of Whitehall, Michigan, part of the United States of America, you swore to defend, uphold, and support the Constitution of the United States. How many of you have actually read that? This is a lot of feedback.
Yeah, that's it.
I doubt that there's very many. There are pocket versions of the Constitution that you can get by calling your congressman's office, and he will give you one. I used to carry a copy of the Constitution to every public meeting. But I will remind you of one section in there. It's called the First Amendment. I'll just speak up, since we don't have anybody technically qualified here to take care of that. The First Amendment says that free speech shall not be impaired by the government. Government has no business messing with the free speech of people. Now, to say that there was a technical difficulty with Catchmark, but it only happened to Mr. Hostica and myself, reminds me of a term I heard in the South. That dog don't hunt. Don't give me your look, Mr. Salter, because you're the one responsible for it. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? All right. With that, we will close the public hearing. We'll move on to a special presentation from the Millage Library.
Lost half my group here.
No, I'm here.
You want it?
Oh, take it here.
I'll take
Okay.
it, sorry.
There you go for a second. And I will give these to, do you want to give those to Scott? Oops, sorry. Those to Scott.
Scott.
I'll keep the envelope. Oh, okay. I apologize for stepping out there and missing my cue. But my name is Norm Kittleson, and I am the past president and current treasurer of the White Lake Community Library. And I'm here with Ray Veter tonight, who is also a board member, and the director, Virginia DeMumbrum, is back here. And we are here to give you the annual report about how the library is doing. So we thank you for the opportunity to represent the community here tonight. And the financial health of the library is quite good. We got a clean audit again this year, and the total revenues exceeded expenses in 2023, and we ended the year in black, which is great. The capital projects fund covered security cameras and new carpet this year. We have some entrance tower updates and new meeting room furniture slated for this year in terms of our capital projects. The energy efficiency upgrades that we instituted earned us $1,800 in rebates this year, so we're pretty happy about that.
We got a really positive response to the community survey that we put out. We put out a pretty extensive community survey and got some great feedback from the community about that. I think the community overall had a very positive view of the library and had some...
I apologize, but I can't hear them. Please stop speaking.
And it had some constructive comments about our services and how we can improve. One of the programs that I found out about at the last meeting, which I'm personally really excited about as a retired educator and someone who spent a lot of time working on literacy issues, is Books for Babies grant. And it's a pilot program to promote early literacy habits, and it's really going great. People with young kids can come in and they get a bag full of reading materials and resources that help them improve the literacy of their young ones, and I just think that that's a fantastic program. We got some new youth programs, new staff, lots of stuff going on for kids. We had the ribbon cutting for the trail recently, and that's we got some new gaming equipment coming in with some VR headsets for teens. So yeah, library's doing great, and I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody on the council has.
Council members have any questions? Any comments? I think you're doing a fantastic job. We have an awesome library there, staffed by wonderful people that care about this community, and it's a great asset to this community. So thank you for your support and efforts on behalf of the library.
And thank you. We appreciate your support.
Yes, please.
I just want to say how proud sorry. Is this better?
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit?
The closer the better.
How come everybody else is louder?
You need a teacher voice.
I've lost that teacher voice. I have a chronic sinus condition, so if I speak too much, I lose my voice. So not a bad thing. But anyway, I just want to thank you for just a fabulous library. I remember I was a kid, and I went to the city library over in do we call this the garden room now still? In the garden room. With lovely library directors who always let me take more kind of quietly than wasn't allowed. And so just I've loved libraries, and then it was just really lovely to see the new library and the community support for that. But I follow the library on Facebook, and I'm just amazed at all of the cool programs. And I took my grandson to a tech take-apart, where they just brought in all kinds of old laptops and different things. And then there was somebody knowledgeable there and kind of helping the kids take things apart. You know, they had goggles on, and it was really cool. So I'm very proud of the library, and I appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Anyone else? Thank you very much for that report.
You're welcome.
Can I give a minute?
Yes?
I didn't realize we weren't going to have a time for the councilman to speak.
We do
And
have a time. It's number 6.
I'm sorry, I can do it.
All right, next up is the consent agenda.
I move for approval of the consent agenda for May 28, 2024.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Questions? All those in...
I have just one question of a point of clarification, just to make sure I heard some rumblings that the budget work session was not posted or notified appropriately. I just want to make sure that, put that to rest or confirm. Sorry, I asked you about the wrong one earlier. It was the work session, the May 21st work session.
It wasn't posted.
It wasn't notified, posted the right time. I think it was on our website the week before.
We moved the meeting. It got
moved from a Monday to a Tuesday, and that was posted.
Is there any, did anybody else hear that? Anybody else have any? No?
I don't think it affected attendance.
I was going to ask
Did
that
it?
too, because I also heard from somebody that it wasn't properly posted. I wanted to ask if we did follow the procedures properly. And it seemed funny that we did not have a single person from the public at that meeting. So did we notify the public properly on that?
It was on the website 18 hours before the meeting, so
Legally, technically?
It was in compliance with state law.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the consent agenda. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed say no.
No,
Consent agenda is approved. Next up is message from the mayor, council, and city manager. Tom, where's your...
Okay. Well, I, number one on my list to talk about was the same thing that Mr. Osaka and
Row.
Bro spoke about. Because I watched the YouTube video and noticed that their discussions were cut off, and I was looking for an answer to why.
we have Wi-Fi issues in this room, and I sent a message to Courtney after that particular message, or after that was noticed that it was cut off, not deleted, and that was her comment, is that we are having some type of connectivity issues in this room. As a matter of fact, the beginning of this, I just got a notice from Brian, said that the beginning of this meeting was freezing, and it's okay right now. So we'll have to address that with Catchmark and get that fixed.
And I did think that their comments needed a response of some sort. I thought it was funny myself because Mr. Rowe was cut off at 1 minute and 20 seconds into his talk, and Mr. Hostica was cut off at 1 minute and 15 seconds into his talk.
Yeah, there wasn't anything fishy, it's just we're having issues. So, I mean, we don't have access to those videos, so it's not, we're not doing anything, it's a live stream. So, correct, Courtney, wherever she is? Yes, so, our technical people are here if they want you to address it.
Well, does that fall under Catchmark's responsibility then?
Yeah, because they're the ones videotaping and live streaming for us. We're not doing that ourselves, we're paying them to do that.
And I'm certainly insulted to think that I'm accused of deliberately cutting off your comments. I wish they were there so the public could see what you said.
If they're recorded, why aren't they on YouTube? Because they're cut off on YouTube just like they were live. So again, that dog don't hunt. Somebody's doing something deliberately. There's only 2 guys that happened to over the course of a 2-hour meeting. Everything else was perfect.
Oh, the other thing that I wanted to mention goes back to the email that Scott Hoover sent around concerning the bathroom for the pocket park. And okay. Excuse me here. It says, we talked about that at the last meeting, and a couple days later Scott sent that email around, and it said that the bathroom has been ordered and that it was going to be delivered in September, and that the cost was going to be, including $9,000 of shipping, the cost is going to be $72,000. And my assumption, I never was told otherwise, but my assumption was that this was going to be built on site, as opposed to, it sounds like it's being ordered prefab. And, you know, I don't have an opinion on that one way or another, but it also said that the $72,000, you know, compared to the engineer's estimate of $140,000, So did we change plans on that, or was the engineer really off by 94.4%?
The original plans were to install a loo, which is something that's catching on in the US. It's basically a stainless steel bathroom where you can just go in and hose it down from top to bottom. The engineers had estimated 140 on that, but that actually became cost prohibitive, so we looked at some other alternatives, and there was never any intention to build something on site. We went from a loo that would have been basically dropped in place to a Rome Tech is the contractor that will build it off-site. It'll be brought in and dropped on site. The engineer was off on that. I always prefer that the engineers are over on their estimates versus under, because we always budget what their numbers are, and if it's under, then that's so much the better than trying to find money after the fact.
Okay, and it said that it's going to be at the Pocket Park Plaza. Where is this going to be located? My assumption, I never heard that phrase before, the Pocket Park Plaza. Is this going to be not in the alley? Where's it going to be located?
It's still in the same place,
Where's
between
that?
Catchmark and Bell's.
So it'll be inside the Pocket Park?
It'll be on the north side.
Okay, up by the wall of,
Yep.
Okay. All right,
Have you gone by there and looked at the site?
yesterday.
I want to say thank you to everybody for coming tonight. It is really great to see so many people here. My guess is that maybe you're not happy, but please come up and talk in public comment and let us know your thoughts. It's great to see you here. Thank you.
You said it before I said it.
And I forgot to speak in. Can everybody hear
Yeah,
me,
I've
or shall
got
I
to speak
repeat?
up again, sorry. I'm glad to see people here. I think what I have always said to people, I was on council for 12 years prior to this current term, and local government is your first face of government. It's where you can come. Everybody lives probably within a mile of City Hall, or you can watch the meetings virtually. We're all people who live here. I live in the house I grew up in. I guess I'm never going to get out of Whitehall. So, good. I think so. But I'm very glad to see people, and I hope people will participate. I think there's a lot to learn about local government. I mean, I certainly learned a lot when I ran for council and was on for a long time. And I think it's important for people to understand what local government is and the budgets, like what Scott went through, and participate, because we certainly want to represent the interests of the people who live here. So I'm just very glad to see you all here. And I think, Scott, I wanted to mention, I would like to see roads on a work session for us at some point. I think it would be, I'm still trying to get an idea of the priority of all of our roads and how they are, their condition, and what's our future plan for going forward. I think that would be helpful. So, thank you.
Steve?
Yeah, the only thing I'm wondering about is this access park down there, just north of the Tannery Bay project. And assuming we pass the budget, that includes that for this year, correct?
For next fiscal year.
Yeah,
After
starting July
1st,
1.
yeah, correct.
And so, when would we have some kind of a, does that have to have an engineering study done, or are we gonna have some kind of something to look at? I just wanna know when we'll be able to see something about that, because I'm pretty interested in that park.
We actually have a preliminary design from the Conservation District. I don't think we're gonna involve an engineer. I don't think it's something that needs the additional expense. so I can get that copy out. As to the preliminary design, we're probably gonna downscale it a little bit, to be within that $60,000 budget. And then as future years go along, we can add more if we find we got more fishermen or more picnic needs, but at least start by providing the access.
Okay. I guess that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Scott?
I don't have anything right now. I'll reserve my time for the resolution for the budget.
Jeff?
One thing, if anybody has been down and saw the fishing platform down there, it's completed. I think we need a handrail.
Yes.
And other than that, it's beautiful. I went down there, walked it the other day. Really nice. That's all I have.
I want to let people know that there will be fireworks on the 4th of July this year. The White Lake Fireworks Committee, on which I serve, is pretty much got all the funds they need to pay for the fireworks. There's still some need. There's donation cans throughout both communities. If you see them, please help us pay for this year's, and we're trying to build a little bit for next year's fireworks if the community wants to have those. Also coming up this weekend is the Feed in the Street. It's a community gathering behind Fetch in the North Mears Plaza, 2 to 7. A lot of great family activity going on there. With that, we will move on to our next public comment section. Is there any public comment?
My name's Maggie Maxey. I'm new to Whitehall, and I just wanted to say something positive. I moved here, and I think it's great that we have art council and that we have a theater, and my grandchild really enjoyed the splash pad. So keep up the good work. There's a lot of good that's being done. And I'm also very supportive of the temporary closure on North Mears every Monday evening. I think that would be great. We had a huge crowd last night at the theater to hear Tommy, and I think people, all age groups, from the very old to the very young, enjoy hearing his music, and I think that would be a good thing.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Patrick Nolte. I'm a resident of Whitehall and recently took over ownership of Milan's Restaurant. And just 3 quick points I'll hash out real quickly. First, I want to express my support for the road closure that was just mentioned at the end of Mears. Located at the very end of that street, I hope that goes into consideration with the resolution. It is proposed for Mondays. We're typically closed on Mondays, so really it doesn't concern us as business at all. And if we are open for any reason, it's, I think, an opportunity for us to feed the people that are there enjoying the music in kind of a new and creative way. So that's a little bit that I wanted to weigh in on there. I did want to present a form for applying for the social district permit in that area. Being a new owner with a new business entity, we have to go through the process again with the state to submit the approval from the local government and then give that to the state MLCC board for approval to grant us to use the social district space. So I have a form that I believe I need to present to the clerk for a resolution to be held for approval from the city council by an approval majority vote for us to be able to pass it on to the state government. And the last thing, I want to leave you guys with a something to chew on. We are really hard to see. As you drive by Colby, there's not a lot of visibility to the building back there. If you don't know it's there, nothing would tell you that there's a restaurant at the back of that promenade. So I've got some ideas, but I'd like to hear some of your ideas. I'd like to come back. This is my first city council meeting, and I'm quickly getting a broader perspective of what it takes to be involved in local government. So appreciate what you guys do. Yeah, I'd just like to kind of brainstorm what are ways we can increase visibility to the social district back there, to the fact that there's a restaurant. Are there signs, postings, anything that we can do to just draw some eyes back there a little bit better? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One more comment, please. Just as we we vote for the budget, Mayor Steve, I know you do a great job in cleaning that splash pad. I see you out there morning, scrubbing all that kind of stuff, but that's what we pay you for. But I think when we do these budgets, let's make sure we plan for that they can be sustained for perpetuity, that they can sustain themselves later on, because hopefully, you can do that for many more years, but there's going to be a time where you can't clean it for us. So in the DPW, we can put that in our budget so that can be cleaned in the future. Also, we talked about people not coming to meetings and all that kind of stuff. It's hard to, you do your best job by putting it on social media, but not everybody's on social media. Maybe if we can allocate a few dollars, putting a sign in front of City Hall, just like Manor has out there, that informs the people. Everybody drives by Colby Street. Let's invest $20,000, $25,000, whatever it costs. We're going to do that at St. James Catholic Church here soon. But we can do the same thing over here, letting people know, here's what the meeting is, here's what we're going to be talking about, things that we talk about. I think it's a good way, because not everybody's on social media. This way it informs everybody what's going on in the city. Thank you.
That's a really good idea.
Hi, I'm Laura Abramson. I'm a resident of Whitehall. And I just wanted to say a few words about the new business, the Fetch Brewing road closure request. Full disclosure, the owners of Fetch are my sister and brother-in-law, but I come here as a fan of live music, and since moving back to this area 3 years ago, the Monday nights in the summertime have been by far my favorite event. I have seen it grow organically over the last 3 years, to the point where people are bringing lawn chairs, people plan on bringing lawn chairs, people get there early. Of course, most people here probably are familiar with the fan club, led by Tommy Foster. He's an institution in this community, and I am just really happy that we're considering this, because it does get very crowded there. I know they've done a really good job of keeping people on the sidewalk. And what I've noticed is, like Maggie said, it's an all ages event. And to me, I like it better than Feet on the Street. I like it better than all of those other ones, because you're seeing a lot of the same people every week, and it's a really nice community event where you see familiar faces every week. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Once again, my name is David Hostica. I sit here and I appreciate all you guys, letting public comment and whatnot. But I mean, sit here and listen to Mr. Scott Hubris over here about, the fact that they're putting $60,000 into a new park, and he mentions how important it is to have access for fishing, and the fishing platform at the Goodrich Park, which I believe was just rebuilt. The best fishing in the area is on the river. And without any access to the Whitehall side, that forces everybody to come on to try to and trespass on my side. And I think it's extremely inappropriate and rude and inconsiderate and a bunch of other adjectives that I can't think of off the top of my head, that the city of Whitehall takes the position that it does on that little piece of land there. That wouldn't be that big a deal to clean that up. Thank you.
All right, we will move on. I don't believe we have any old business pending, so we'll move to new business. First up is Funnell Field fundraising request.
Yeah, Mayor. Having discussed this at a staff meeting a Monday or two ago, Staff has some serious concerns about a motocross event in Funnell Field. What kind of damage that's going to do to the park, how that's going to interfere with any reservations, any non-reservations, just people moving in there. The car show seems not nearly as intrusive. We've been staging, maybe I don't want to go there, but we've been staging crews in there for years without any issues. But I think once you get a number of motorcycles moving in and out, it sounds like they're professionals. They know what they're doing, but I don't believe staff supports this as not being a proper venue for any type of motocross displays. Maybe displays, but not for any motocross racing. But it's still council's decision.
Anyone on council want to give an opinion on this?
We have to have a motion and a second.
If we are going to pass this, we need a motion and a second, and then a vote. Without a motion, it dies.
I'll make a motion to, just to see where it goes.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, now we open it up for discussion.
I have a question. Would they have to be a, what is it, 501c?
C3, yeah.
C3?
Or something like that. There's other Cs that you can be.
Would they have to be that to be, so they were liable and not the city be liable? Or is it, what would the liability, how would the liability be?
And we'll add in, or correct me if I'm wrong, they don't necessarily have to be a 501c3 to be liable. There would have to be some sort of legal entity that the city could reach in case of any liability issues. They do talk about insurance, so I think initially we would go to their insurance company, and then if need be, we would follow up with the company itself, whatever assets they may have. Obviously, the liability and the safety is paramount, but we're also concerned with what kind of damage it's going to do to that park. I think, and I think it was in the state of Michigan, there was a recent incident with a drag race, sanctioned drag race, where a vehicle lost control and killed one of the spectators.
They had a fatality up on the dunes this last weekend from that.
So I guess, and I don't know if Will's got anything else. As far as liability, Mr. Brown, I think as long as there's a legal entity, whether it's a 501c3 or an LLC or some other corporation, that's what.
But this sounds like a personal one, so I mean, that could be with the professional group that's doing the motocross. Could be liable for that. But if it's something unrelated to that part of it, it would be back against the individuals that are putting it on. If insurance doesn't cover it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that would work with the park, with where they would be running or anything, but, I wonder if they might reach out to, the racetrack to see if there's a place to, what's the, over by Michigan Adventure?
Thunderbird.
Thunderbird, if there's a place over there that might be more appropriate for this. But also, Scott, if you could just chat with them to see if there's something different that they could do, because certainly I would like to help people who, are looking for this, looking for help with their fundraisers.
All right.
I agree with the idea of a fundraiser for this cause, but I have the same concerns as the administration, that when I read this, I thought, there's no way we can have a dirt bike race at Funnell Field. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But I think, a car show, like you said, is a great idea. People seem to like those. But I can't understand that they're noisy, and they tend to tear things up. That's what dirt bikes do. So, I'm against it because of that, as long as that's on there.
I would like to see what other options they have. You can go back and see if they can do something without the dirt bike show. And there was really, they didn't really put in here anyway about how the money was going to be raised. I mean, whether they're going to be selling tickets or how they're going to operate and do that. It's pretty vague in that. arena. But yeah, I'm for the car show, but not keen on the dirt bike show.
I'm saying, I'm all for the car show, but, and I don't see how a dirt bike show or whatever is gonna work in that part of it. Maybe you're, I don't know, a revised, something from them. If they're interested in just doing a car show, I don't know if that's gonna help them raise any money or not, but,
I'm looking at what
Any
would
further discussion?
I was just wondering if the motion and the support was to approve the car show, but not the BMX, the motocross.
The motion was to approve everything.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if you would like
so we
to,
would have to amend.
If you amend the motion or.
he can amend it with this approval from the supporter. Yeah.
I just had another thought. We would have to pay attention to any scheduled soccer games, football games, baseball games, things like that. It seems to me that we might have an issue that way.
Okay. If you care to amend your motion, or we can vote on the overall motion.
Well, I'm pretty sure if we vote on it the way it is, it's a no for sure, so. We'll make a motion to amend it to just a car show, if the family is still acceptable to that. If anybody wanted to second that.
Did you want to second that part or not? Or
I'll
just the
second
car
it.
show?
But like you said, if there's competing events, you know, I don't know how much of the area it's gonna take to have a car show there. You know, I don't wanna see it messing up softball games or soccer games or anything like that.
I think it's probably going to be good if they came back with a graphic, what part of the park they need to use, and check the schedules on anything else that's already going to be there.
What is the 17th of August?
Saturday.
The Saturday.
What we would probably run into, Little League and softball is normally done by the middle of August. What you're gonna start running into is soccer practices. We don't really have any type of a schedule. It's always been, the coaches kind of do an agreement amongst themselves. Is Saturday from 2 to 4, I'm gonna be just outside of the softball fields, and one group might take the area next to the parking lot. So it's kind of more of a, show up, and if it's available, use it. But we would,
Football practices going on yet, then?
yeah, definitely.
The Pee Wee League?
Yep, they'll probably be up there practicing as well. If you approve the car show only, it would obviously be subject to coordinating with available space and other events, just like what we do with any park rental.
The more I think about it, the more I wonder if they would also require, if they're going to try and collect money through ticket sales or something, would they require fencing to be put up or things like that? Would there be any requirement for police services or anything? I think they need to come back with some more specific on car thing.
I agree, Tom. I think rather than voting on something, we have a lot of questions. I have still a lot of questions. If they could have a conversation with staff.
So
I think it's pretty vague. I mean.
So would you care to withdraw your motion?
Sure. I will withdraw the motion.
Withdraw your second?
We just need more information.
Motion's gone, I can't withdraw the second.
Okay. So I think we're in agreement that we'd like to have a little more information concerning this.
We'll reach out to them.
Okay. Next up is Fetch Brewing road closure request.
I'll make a motion to approve Fetch's request for road closures on Mondays between, is it Thursday.
6:30.
7 to, yeah.
6:30 to 10:30,
yeah,
right?
7, yeah, 6:30 to 10:30, Memorial Day through Labor Day. Being Memorial Day is already.
Has moved in second, is there any discussion?
I'm not in favor of it. Council, I don't know if we officially voted on anything last fall, but, or if it was just, if it was an official vote or what it was, but we decided we weren't gonna close that road for things last fall, and I don't see any sense in changing our minds on it now. I don't have anything against Fetch, and I don't have anything against the program they're trying to run there. I think that it would be better served, instead of closing the road, closing half of the park off back there, on their half of the park, and letting whatever needs to go on that way. We didn't spend almost $1 million to create a meeting place to close off access to it, in my opinion. So, I'm not for it.
Any other comments?
I think one of the hesitations, I'm not sure if there was a formal vote or not, was the safety. I know when we closed off First Street,
Yes.
the fire department was requiring those giant bollard things because they were concerned about the safety of the people. So that's my only concern. I'm all for a gathering, I'm all for the space. I mean, last night they had the rain date over at the Playhouse, and it was packed, it was exciting, everybody was enjoying themselves. It's a great idea, I'm just not sure how to do it safely, especially when we're gonna have to move things in and out. So I would like to have input from the safety folks. And Scott, maybe you have that information, I'm not sure. But I would like to know kind of how to do it safely before I would feel good to support it. I like Scott's suggestion of, is there a way to move it to the back? I don't know, but to close down the street that people are, there's a light right there, the light turns green and people turn, you can see people, I get that, but it feels scary to me from a safety perspective. That's all, that's my only concern.
If I can respond to that, what we would envision, being that it's temporary for a couple of hours every evening, is nothing more than the big orange and white road closed signs that can be pulled in and pulled out at both ends.
How do they manage the Kobe, Pokey Pokey has their alley sales a couple times a year. How do they close that off? Is that how they do that with just the orange barrels?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, Deb, they're gonna do to Warner Street, I'm sure, the one we approved last council meeting, to shut that section of Warner Street down. From somebody that's been in the public safety realm since, I'm gonna say when I started, but it was a long time ago. I trust between our police chief and our fire chief that they will wholeheartedly put their best foot forward and make sure that is a safe area for people to gather. I trust them.
I think myself, I think it's probably a little safer to close the street because it's a very popular venue. I try to get there every Monday if possible, just because everybody and their brother's out there, and you can see blue sky till 10 o'clock sometimes in the summer. So it's nice, and I have been there at times where I have crossed, and like the street, and the street is open, and I kind of feel like it would be safer to have that road closed, and that way, it's cleared, because it is busy, and people are coming from one side to the other, and, they're probably jaywalking. They're not, walking all the way down to the end and around, and so it's a very popular event, so I think probably closing it, for me, would make it feel a little safer.
I just wonder that road that's to the west end of the parking lot, or north end.
First Street?
However you look at it, that it's an egress only, correct? You can only leave the parking lot, you can't go into the parking lot there, down there by the Century Building.
No, that's an
Ingress.
not an egress.
It's an ingress.
Goes in.
So the only way out during that time would be behind Bell.
Division Street,
Yeah.
yes. The other thing we can look at too is it would be fluid. If something changed or something didn't, we came up with a better idea or we didn't like it, we can always, we could always rescind it. If it became a public safety hazard or something like that, I see we could make that, that would be an option.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm interested in trying it for a few weeks and see how it works. But not a guaranteed all summer thing at this point.
I mean, kind of like them owning the sidewalk forever and ever.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know.
So, the way I look at it, Steve, is I would say just approve it for the time, and then if something happens where we decide as a group that it's not working, we can always rescind it back versus trying to keep moving it on, at least from my perspective.
I like also to consider another area
And
as
parking
as
lot.
we go on, yeah.
That's not a bad idea either.
All right, there's no further discussion. By a show of hands, those in support of it.
We're raising our hands now.
Yes or no?
This is not, you want yes?
I don't know.
I'm asking for a show of hands, so show your hand if you support it.
I thought it was a roll call.
It's not a roll call because it's not money. So I believe we have 4 people that support it. Okay. Motion is approved. Next is resolution 2418. Forest Hills Manor. Anyone have any?
I will move that I move the resolution, but I really would like more information once we get there.
Okay.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded?
Do we have anybody that's interested in buying this piece of property?
We have, through the years, we've had developers and real estate agents and individuals come to the city. We currently have a developer. He did a lot of the houses, I'm drawing a blank, recently, right off of Peterson Road in Alice.
No, pine tree, pine cone.
Spruce.
Is it
Spruce Court.
Yes.
Yes, there you go. I knew it was some kind of a.
Spruce something. So he has shown some interest, but a lot of times when they've come in and looked at the property and walked it, they've kind of said, wow, that's going to be quite a challenge because the road is basically the low spot of the property. So my recommendation is that we hire Brendan Newhoff to do some preliminary engineering to see exactly how the road can be built, how stormwater can be managed, so that if this person continues to pursue it, that we can actually say it is buildable for anybody in the future. It would be, I think I mentioned 20 lots. There's really 18 that are buildable. If you notice on the map on the back, there's 2 that have been split off and given to some adjacent property. But if we get 18 of those lots built for, homes that are $200,000 and up, that's $3.5 million. So I think the $5,800 investment on our part would probably be well spent.
So who would build the road?
The road would be the responsibility of the property owner. Unless the city council decides, well, the developer, not the individual property owners. That's what we did in Tannery Bay with the water and sewer. They built the water and sewer, dedicated it to the city after we inspected it. So we, in a sense, own the water and sewer lines in Tannery Bay. This is, they would have to build the road to our specifications, and once we like them, then we would accept the road for all future maintenance.
And we would determine the size of the lots? that could be.
No, it's already a platted subdivision.
Oh.
So this is what we have unless they get a circuit court action.
Yeah, to amend a plat is, there's a couple different ways to do it, but yeah, basically it's complicated.
This over here is Warner
That's
Street,
Warner Street, yeah.
coming in off of Warner.
No, that's Livingston. Warner Street is on the right side. No.
No,
You're
Warner
right.
Street's on the left, yeah.
You're right.
That's- And then attached
Peach on
to
the
that.
other side.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is-
that was my other question, was this over here Peach? Or is it going into Peach?
No,
it
it-
comes out before Peach. So
Yeah.
here's Fairlawn.
Yeah.
It comes down and connects to Benston.
Yeah, so it just comes back around
So
back.
what's
Peach
his,
is Peach
what's
is
his
probably.
name that lives here?
Yeah, there's more lots here. So.
Yeah. Huh?
Yes.
He lives on the
he lives
corner of Peach and,
right here, I think.
so it's gonna,
Alva Steffer's on the corner.
yeah, Alva Steffer, that's what it's.
Peach and Benston.
Next to him.
Yep.
So it's coming out onto Benston in between him and Peach.
No,
He would be
it-
between this
it would
road
be
and Peach.
between Canol's and
Yeah.
Alva Stuffer's anyway.
The road would come alongside the west side of his property.
There's lots over here.
Yeah, I think this is Canol's lot. I think Alva
He owns
Stuffer's
it too,
lot.
he owns it,
So
the
this
one with the
road
angles
coming
behind
up here to Benston, you got one lot, and then you got Peach coming out to Benston also. That's kind of congested.
And one consideration that a couple of developers have brought up is whether or not they could cul-de-sac it, the road at this end.
Yeah.
Because putting this road in would really serve nobody except a few backyards. So that'd be pretty expensive for some backyards. If that were the case, the city could vacate that road, and it would be split between the adjacent property owners. But at least this gets us to start putting pencil to paper.
Okay.
I've got a question. I wonder if we might be able to discuss the concept of affordable living and homes in the city of Whitehall. We don't have a lot of area for new homes, and I am concerned about affordable living. You know, I know the apartments are going to be market rate, and I know that, you know, I don't want to be pricing out young people trying to look for a home, and I would even like to at least talk about like a tiny village somewhere, you know, where people who just want, maybe there are people who are retired or people who just want to have a small house. And so I'd like to at least, you know, I don't mind moving this along, but I would like to have I'd like to have a discussion about affordable housing in the city. Do we have developers, and do we make a requirement that a certain percentage of their homes are affordable? I'm very concerned about the cost of homes, you know, not just in Whitehall, but everywhere. It's a challenge right now.
That's what I was gonna, kind of thinking to myself, I wonder if this property, if it'd be possible to put more small lots in there to provide a little more,
More
smaller,
homes. Yeah.
more affordable homes, or would the water situation cause that to not be economically feasible anyway?
I think that would be difficult because you would be making extremely narrow lots. We do, the zoning ordinance now allows for at least 800 square feet for living spaces, so you can have a lot of smaller homes. But I think splitting these lots up, and there's a process as far as splitting lots. But I think the only way to make it with road frontage is you're gonna have, and I think a lot of these are 60 feet wide, now you're gonna have 30-foot wide lots.
Would it be possible to put, you see the difference in the width of Fairlawn versus the street that's drawn there? Could you make a big loop with a smaller street? Is that feasible?
Well, a developer would have to spend a lot more money on asphalt. And even if you got smaller lots, smaller homes, it's probably gonna make it a little less attractive.
And it still has to meet fire code for being able to get
yeah.
fire apparatus and everything else down there, so.
Right. Okay.
We do need to start talking about this though, to the extent that we have the potential to change things up a little bit. So I guess I would throw the concept onto a work session so we can start talking about it.
I have a question. Where does the water go now that comes down that, it goes through a culvert underneath Peach and goes between Guinan's and Loons there? And where does that water go? Because there can be quite a lot of water coming down through that woods off from that hill, because that hill's all clay, so it doesn't sink in on Benston.
Right now it goes the path of least resistance. I mean,
It just goes into the ground back there, so it must turn to sand or something.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know if when I see the water going under the road, I'm thinking, there's gotta be a drain back there in the middle of that field or something,
No,
but there
there's
isn't.
there's a culvert that goes under Warner Street.
Yes. Goes on the school property.
Yeah, it goes onto the school property.
Yes.
Oh,
But
okay.
I've never seen anything flowing through it. I mean,
Maybe.
not like a river.
We get a lot of rain. It has, it has. When we had large rains, it's flowed through there, but
Doesn't last long.
most of the time, there's nothing there.
Yeah. I know there is a culvert there under Warner Street.
Yep.
So it must be that it turns from clay to sand back in there.
I think
'Cause there's a lot of water coming through there at times.
Yeah, I think really hasn't happened in recent years, but with the normal snowfall, with the spring runoff, that's, I think, where we most often see the water running through that lot or that parcel.
All right. If there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Kabala,
Yes?
Brown,
Yes,
Siginga,
Yes.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes. Resolution passes. Next is Resolution 2419, 24 Street Project.
I'll make a motion on resolution 2420, is that what it is?
19.
No, 2419, street project, 2024 street project.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Some of this is add-in, correct? I mean, we were gonna do, if we had the money, the rest of Warner.
Correct.
And since we have a few other roads that are well-traveled, that are falling apart, we're jumping in where we can.
Correct.
When the asphalt truck is.
Yeah, well, it's cheaper.
Exactly.
Yes, it is.
All the equipment is here from the
Yep.
company and everything.
Absolutely.
If there's no other discussion, roll call, please.
Brown,
Yes,
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Kabala,
Yes.
Siginga,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes. Resolution passes. Next is Resolution 2420, Annual Budget and Millage Levy.
I'll put resolution 2420 on the table.
second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
As I said earlier, I have a lot of comments and some questions. I don't know, I guess I'll just start reading my list, and if somebody wants to stop me, they can, and otherwise you can just wait till I get to the end and come back. But I'm just gonna make my comments in the order that they appeared in the opening statements and the budget that we got. First one is, I don't understand why we use the consumer's price index out of Detroit when we don't live in Detroit. We live on the other side of the state in a rural area, basically. I think anything that is related to Detroit is gonna be higher numbers, but it's just an observation of mine. Next item, I have no problem with the city clerk's pay grade going from a 6 to an 8. She does an exceptional job, and she's had a lot of added responsibilities put onto her job. I do not agree with the playhouse manager's pay moving to a grade 8. In my eyes, that job's not even a full-time job. That's just my comment. I guess I I wanted to discuss, but we didn't get the chance to because it flew by too quick on me. I don't understand why our police department is almost double the budget of other communities of our size. You know, why do we have a detective? Why do we have 8 full-time employees compared to 6? You know, what are we getting for the extra $600,000 or $700,000 that we're spending towards our police department compared to what like communities in size are spending on their police departments? I disagree with giving the marijuana tax to the 2 areas that are suggested. I think the police department's budget is high enough to begin with. We don't need to be giving them another $59,000. And I definitely don't agree with giving $59,000 extra to the Playhouse. $118,000 would have been real nice to finish fixing all the sidewalks in the city. At our last work session where we discussed Tifa, it was just suggested to wait and address the topic at the budget meeting, and we didn't discuss anything at the budget meeting about it. So to me, it's still a work session item, but I know others don't agree with that. As far as the general fund goes, under city council, taxpayers paying for up to 3 members to attend a conference on Mackinac Island is definitely wasteful spending in my eyes. I don't think the taxpayers of the city would appreciate 3 people sitting up here going to Mackinac Island on their dime. There's other MML meetings to go to that are a lot closer and a lot cheaper. And as far as the roads plan goes that was in the budget up there at the end, I'm for slow and steady. That's all I have.
Anyone else?
I'm in agreement with, I don't want the marijuana money going to the Playhouse and the police. I think they ought to go to local streets. And same thing, Brenda does a great job. Brenda works hard. I'm in favor of her getting the pay bump. But I don't see the Playhouse manager job being on the same level. So I would not recommend that pay boost.
Anyone else?
I have a question. If we fail to pass this budget, we still have June, is that right? We could iron out some differences and pass it in June, or I mean, is this the same type of thing where we get down to the last possible day and either pass it or you're done?
The charter requires you, I believe, to adopt, I think tonight you have to adopt a budget. But I can grab the charter.
Yeah, I've got it.
That's charter, not state law? I thought it was a state law that had to be in, no, okay.
No. Will's got our charter, so.
But what happens if we do not pass it? Say there's 4 no votes. I'm just curious.
I'm looking, I'm not sure.
While Will's looking for the charter.
I'm seeing if I got the charter.
Yes.
As far as the marijuana tax goes, the police department is the one that inspects those facilities. So if anything, they are deserving of at least a portion of that fund for doing that. That is by statute, I do believe, Roger, that you have to do that. Inspect the marijuana facilities. As far as inspection of the marijuana facilities, that's required of you guys to do that, or not?
There's no state requirement, we
Okay.
just do it.
You just do it, okay.
Like we do liquor inspections on a regular basis.
I usually give it to
All right. As far as the other half goes, there are a multitude of places we can move that money.
Look how many more benches you could have got for your...
That's where I'm working towards.
Area.
You know, if anything, I'd like to see that last half split between Parks and Rec and if we gotta give anything to the theater, split that last half and half, so it'd be a half, quarter. But, again, that's an opinion from my perspective.
So if we wanted to do something like that, would we amend the budget at this time?
I don't think we have an option of amending the budget.
I was reading.
We have an option to
Can you
approve
read-
the budget or not approve the budget.
The charter requires that not later than the first Monday in June, the council shall adopt the budget for the next fiscal year. So you've got between now and Monday. No, you still have another week. No, you don't.
No.
No.
No, today's
We already had Memorial Day.
Yeah.
So
Today's 28.
if you don't pass it tonight, you would have to call a special meeting. But it has to be adopted no later than next Monday.
Can the budget be amended tonight, like if we wanted to?
The city council, it's before you. Whatever
Yeah.
numbers you want to change, add, delete, it's up to a majority vote of the city council.
So someone would have to make an amendment, a motion to amend, and then that amendment be voted on.
That would probably be
Before we-
the cleanest, yes.
Could we adopt it pending further discussion at our next work session to solidify? For me, we have a lot of unanswered or kind of open-ended pieces that we brought up. I know we had initially planned to have a work session with a potential overflow work session. And I don't feel like we were all exhausted at the end of our 3 hours last time. And so I don't know that we got to talk about some of the things that Scott has brought up. And I feel like we could use a little more time to discuss before we iron out specific numbers. So I guess my question is, can we approve it pending further discussion on certain items? I don't know if that's even doable. I mean, technically it's approved, but we have further discussion.
You can, but any further discussions that changes the numbers would require a budget amendment. I'm not a big fan of budget amendments. I like to kind of keep our feet to the fire. We do a mid-year because of, better projections of revenues and actual numbers versus estimates. I'm not sure, Mr. Brown brought up a number of items, as did Mr. Zemer. I don't see that those necessarily require an additional work session. The question about the Detroit Consumer Price Index, the Consumer Price Index is always based upon a large metropolitan area. I don't believe there is a CPI for West Michigan. If it is, it's a sub-number of the Detroit CPI. We have been using that forever, and I know just because we've done it forever doesn't mean we have to keep doing it. But we've always used that as a good gauge as to where the employee pay raises should be. His comment, I think echoed by Mr. Zemer about not okay with moving Beth up. That can be a simple yes or no this evening. The police department, I think I've given you some information. The bottom line to that is, why do we have the staffing and the finances we do for the police department? Because prior city councils felt that those were justified to have a full-time detective and a full-time school resource officer, as well as the number of patrol officers. The marijuana tax is kind of I'm hearing about oversight on their finances. I don't see Tifa being any different than the other 15 budgets that you are reviewing tonight, any of the 15 funds. I think Will's probably got a comment on that. The MML convention it's a budget number. Council can approve that, eliminate it, or you can increase it. Tonight you can go any direction you want with those numbers. And then I think it was a general opinion as on regards to the roads. So, you're always, it's your option to decide to have more work session. I don't think there was a whole lot of discussion during the work session, and again, maybe it was the time that it took. But I didn't hear at the end of that meeting from the city council that we needed another work session, because we did tentatively schedule the next night for continuation. But that doesn't mean upon further reflection and the comfort of your own home, you came up with a lot of ideas.
I think myself, I was just exhausted. We met for over 3 hours and we went through the presentation, but there was some of the narrative in the budget that I wanted to have more discussion about. And not a quick discussion either, you know. So I'm fortunate to be on vacation this week, so I'm available to meet again if anybody else is. Get it, you know, just have a little more time to talk through some of the issues so that, you know, that we're not pressured into voting for something that we're not necessarily comfortable with.
I noticed we had a large increase for Public Works, and what I was wondering is where the bulk of that increase is going. How much of that is going towards better maintenance of our parks?
Well, I guess what numbers are you looking at? Because there's not specifically a Public Works budget. The Public Works Department is spread out on streets, water, sewer, parks, city hall. I mean, they're allocated all over the
I
board.
couldn't remember the specifics. But I thought they did. Well, let me just ask, is there an increase in Public Works for better or more maintenance on the parks?
The simple answer is no. But the better answer is that we increased the staff at the Public Works Department by 1 and 2 budgets ago, because there was concerns from City Council about the maintenance of the parks and the streets. And what we did is we recommended adding a full-time position so that we had more manpower. Pardon me, ladies, for saying that, but that we had more employees available for a lot of the maintenance issues.
And then didn't we have somebody retire right after that, so we didn't really gain anything?
No, we still did. We still added 1 full-time
I thought we
equivalent.
hired the person and then somebody else retired, so.
We did, but we hired 2 in
Oh.
short succession, Andrew and Josh.
Jason
Jason.
Church.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's really isn't an increase in for parks maintenance, because we're going to be picking up another park when the Tannery Bay Access, whatever we're calling it.
Yeah, we have added a full-time position in the Public Works Department to complement the amount of time and maintenance done in parks as well as on the streets, the water, the sewer.
Do we also not have part-time staff that's doing that? Because I see the guys driving around on Saturdays, so.
Yep, we have, I think Brian's got 4 part-time seasonal helpers, and what we've actually done is we've included work on the weekends. A lot of that is trash pickup in the parks. So we have improved, for the most part, within the constraints of the budget, the maintenance in the parks.
Have they gotten to the switchback? I mean, the switchback park is a classic case of something that looks terrible. And it has for quite a long time.
It has, and we have had volunteers, we've had the Conservation District, we've had DPW staff do it, and at the direction of the City Council, we're putting that on a priority to maintain that on a more regular basis.
Scott, did the Tifa District hire a couple of part-time staff, or are they coming out of that part-time budget?
TIFA, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, hired a part-timer to work downtown. And there really, just for one position down there really wasn't that much work to justify it. I mean, there's only so many weeds and garbage cans you can empty in a day.
Okay.
So where are we at?
Well,
Yes.
Are we looking at wanting to have another meeting, or are we looking at doing little budget amendments right now?
I think that would be the preferred route.
From staff's perspective, yes, but Ms. Caballas mentioned she doesn't want to be pressured into voting, so certainly don't want council to feel that they're pressured into it. I mean, some issues have been raised, that would be a discussion amongst the 7 of you. as to whether you agree, disagree, agree in part. But unless there are more specific issues, I think they could be addressed this evening.
So what we need is for someone to put forth an amended budget with whatever things that person believes should be amended, and throw that on top of this budget request. So if you had more things, you'd say, I have an amended budget suggestion, and then if you got a second, then that would be added to what we have if it passed.
We would vote on that specifically.
The four things.
Yep. Well, yeah, if somebody wanted to put all four, or if they wanted to do them one at a time.
We usually do them one at a time.
Yeah. If a council member wanted to say we want $40,000 for Christmas lights, and there's a support, then I think the council would vote on that. And if approved, then it would be adjusted in the budget. And then later on, you can adjust the budget with those amendments.
Right. Approve it as amended, with incorporating the amendments.
So what do we need? We need a motion to amend the budget?
Yeah.
Well, a motion, I'm trying to pick on one of yours, or pick out one of yours, not pick on it. If you wanted to make a motion on a different allocation to the marijuana tax, then you would present that motion, and if there's a second, then we would vote on that. And then any other, I guess, line items that the city council wants to act on.
I would motion,
Go ahead.
I'd make a motion that we take the marijuana tax money and put it in the fund for local streets.
Can you expand it to include sidewalks?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, so questions on that, Mayor?
Yes.
So I understood we were gonna not do, the plan initially was to not do any sidewalks this year, but move it to the next following. So if we took that money, we could put it to those sidewalks and we could do that, would that be doable this year? To finish all the sidewalks this year instead of spreading it out over 2 or 3?
You could. However, I guess the motion is to put it towards streets and sidewalks.
Right.
So are we putting it towards streets, all towards sidewalks, or some, because if you're taking, if you're taking $118,000 and you put $90,000 towards sidewalks, you're left with $20,000 in streets. That doesn't mean it won't, I mean, we would transfer it over to the capital improvement fund. I mean, you're not gonna do a lot with $20,000 for streets, but it would still add to the pot.
I'm okay.
That's acceptable to me.
Is there any other place we can find some money, for streets? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted there.
All right. We have a motion. As I understand it, the desire is to put the marijuana money on sidewalks.
And the remainder going to streets? Is that what we're
Going to
doing?
streets,
Streets and sidewalks.
and that rate. Your goal is to-
Sidewalks and streets.
Do you have tables
This
that
year.
sit on the sidewalks?
The streets wouldn't get that much. I'd rather put if we're gonna do sidewalks, I'd do sidewalks and then, give $10,000 to the White House.
The only issue I have is this year, that money was going towards camera systems for the vehicles and body worn cameras, correct?
I believe so.
That is a huge mistake if we do not do that. From somebody that wears a body worn camera every day at work, that is a huge liability if we don't do it. We could do this next year, that's fine, but to not get them cameras and in-car cameras for the vehicles is a huge mistake. Huge mistake. From a liability standpoint, I'm suing us as a city. Anybody comes out during an arrest, if something happens and it's not on video nowadays, good luck.
Did that number for cameras?
Half that number, I do believe, went towards a portion that went towards the cameras in the in-car camera systems and the body-worn camera systems.
And that's for the cost of them. What about the ongoing maintenance and programming and so on for that? Is that included in that number, or is that additional to be come up with somewhere else?
I do believe that is, they have a server system that it goes on. I mean, it just, you pull up and it's a dock. You put, at least the ones we use, you dock it in the station, it goes, the video goes into the computer system and is saved for X amount of time. Or if you find something that you need to save, you can save it permanently and it goes into the hard drive. But the camera systems, Roger, how old's the camera systems we got currently?
One we have now is about 10 years old.
Yeah,
It's, the whole camera system is different than it used to be. You can't buy it outright anymore.
Yep. So we're living on borrowed time with that. And as far as the litigious society we have currently, that's probably something
That could be said for sidewalks too, when somebody falls on a broken sidewalk and gets hurt.
All right, we have a motion. You want to amend it?
If you want to make a motion.
What was the number for the cameras?
Well, half of the 118 was going to the police department. I think the majority of that was going to the camera system. It's in the phone report, generally.
18.2 on the body cameras.
And the in-car cameras?
It says in-car video and body cam, 18.2.
That's 1 year and 5-year contract.
5 times 18.
But that's next year. The first year is the 18.2, and then it would be the ongoing after each next budget year.
So if we did 20,000 for the cameras, that'd be all right? That'd get us by for the first year? Is that correct?
20,000 will get you by, Roger, for?
You can't buy it outright.
No,
towards the contract. The first year of the contract.
20,000 a year for 5 years, roughly. Actually 18,000 a year for 5 years.
Okay, all right.
So let's round up to 20,000. I motion that we take marijuana tax money, put 20,000 towards the police cameras and the balance into sidewalks.
That's an amended motion.
Yes, that's an amended motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I would like to know the impact on the playhouse budget then, without that money.
Well, it's $59,000 short.
Yeah.
So there would have to be $59,000 raised elsewhere, either through grants, sponsorships, ticket sales.
So I don't like to make decisions that quickly.
There's no further discussion. We'll have a roll call.
Yeah.
So what are we, is your motion is to
Put $20,000 towards the police camera, car and body both, I guess, for 20,000. And the balance to sidewalks and I guess any remainder going into us local streets.
Okay, I think we all understand that. Roll call, please.
Okay. Zemer,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Sittinga,
No.
Kavala,
No.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Zemer, oh, or did you, sorry, Holmstrom? You don't get 2 votes, sorry.
Yes.
And Salter.
No.
We have 4 yeses and 3 noes, so it passes.
All right. Is there any other aspect?
You make a motion that playhouse managers pay not go to grade 8 and stay where it's at.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
What's it currently at?
Pay raise?
What's the difference?
Grade 6 versus 8.
Thank you.
We've had
Does that sound right, Alyssa?
Yes, we have a motion.
I got it. I got it.
6 to an 8.
I just have to, I'm gonna, Mayor Salter has given me the floor for a second, so I have to say that I do think that Beth works, and it's not specifically Beth, we're talking about the position, but the Playhouse manager works incredibly hard. I live right next door, I see her working many times when the rest of us are sleeping. I'm out there, you know, with my dogs late at night. Sometimes she's over there. She might be cleaning the toilets. She might be setting something up. So I think she brings great programming. It's not easy work. It's she's kind of everything that needs to be done there, she does. So I don't have a problem with the increase. I support it. I support the position. I support the work. So can't support the motion.
I have watched every single Playhouse director just give their lives to the Playhouse, and so and we have been so fortunate, and I think the success of the Playhouse and where we're at today has been because of those directors, and they've been, we've been very, very lucky, and they are probably some of the most hardworking people I know, and it's a very unique position because you're managing a building, you're managing a budget, you're managing theater groups and dealing with entertainment, and it's just, I think she makes it look easy, and so maybe that's why people think it doesn't look like it's full-time. So I would have to agree with Debbie that I think it's important for us to support the Playhouse by supporting the position.
Anyone else?
My comment would be that I don't have any problem with, my only issue is that I don't believe that the Playhouse manager should be at the same level as the clerk and the other city officials. It's not to say that I think she's not working or anything like that, it's just I don't think it should be at the same level.
If there's no further discussion, the motion is, do we raise the Playhouse manager from a 6 to an 8?
Well, I think, what was the
Is that correct?
motion?
Is
I
it-
thought the motion was we don't.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, so the motion is we don't do that.
So,
A negative would be.
So if you say yes, it does not go to an 8. If you say no, it does. Correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Why don't you read the motion just to be sure?
$12,800.
The motion is to not increase the Playhouse manager position to a level 8. So if you say yes, that means it will not go to a level 8. You say no, it will go to a level 8.
Just my negative motions are.
It is very difficult to do a negative motion, yes.
so
But that's where we are right now.
Am I reading this wrong? This is what we're talking about. It's not 12,000, it's 10,000. There's the sheet.
And I think it's a 5 to an 8.
Rather than a 6 to an 8.
I'm looking at right in the budget.
those are the budget numbers right there on that sheet that I was given by Scott, who was given it by Alyssa.
5, 6, and 8.
Well, this is, then why would this be budgeted so high?
Oh, that's got benefits in there, right?
It doesn't say benefits, it just says salaries.
This one doesn't say.
The benefits
We're
are
on
for
Yeah,
the-
that's why it doesn't.
Page 80.
Yeah, that's why it's
right at the top.
that's a little harder,
Question is, from 2023, 24 amended budget to the requested budget.
Are you questioning the budgeted amount? It's a guess between fringe benefits and salary, meaning how much vacation time she would use in correlation to non-vacation time. But her pay would be an 8 if it's voted, or remain as a 5 if it doesn't pass.
So somewhere it's a 6.
Said it in
the
Scott's
preamble
whole-
thing.
Scott's whole thing, statement. I think you said 6 to an 8.
Yeah,
Right.
because I'm a
It's
6.
6 to 8.
Mhm. That's the
I
5.
think that's where I got it.
Right. But
Somebody said.
is she then going from a 5 to?
That would be a different number.
I'm showing an increase of 47.2% from the amended 24 budget to the 24-25 recommended budget.
That would be accurate.
18.
Can you repeat what you said?
According to the budget book here, it's going from 52,800 to 77,700. That's 19,900. 47%.
But that also includes the merit and the COLA, which is, according to that right there, is 7% of that number that you just gave.
But it's 47% from one year to the next, which is, when's the last time you've had a raise like that? Or anybody else?
So are you guys
So
ready with your
if you
figures
don't
yet?
want her at an 8, do you want her something other than an 8? Is that what you're doing, or you want to leave her at a 5?
Well, I could go from a 5 to a 6, but my assumption was that it was a 6 because that's what it said.
I'm not sure where you see that it's,
Or maybe it doesn't say 6, it just says raise to an 8. And it didn't say raise
Top
it
line
3.
of page 80.
yeah, that's the dollar amount,
Um,
which is what we're discussing, but
Okay.
my cover letter just says to move her to an 8. It doesn't say she's in a 6.
Okay.
I read it somewhere.
Yeah, I read it somewhere too, but I don't know where I read it at.
So she's currently a 5.
Okay.
Right? She's currently a 5.
Yes,
Get a copy.
$65,000.
I'm just putting marks so I know.
Yes.
Okay, so is there a way to have a different sort of turnout to the, if this one, if going from current to 8 is a no, means stays at a 5, that feels very wrong to me, because I don't know where we would find somebody to replace current situation
I don't have any
at the
problem,
same pay.
I don't have any problem with it going, if it's at a 5, I don't have any problem with it going from a 5 to a 6.
Me either.
I would probably go to a 7, because I think she's been kind of artificially low.
That's where I am. I think current state is pretty low, so given
given what
position responsibilities are.
But we do have a motion and support on the floor that the Playhouse manager salary not go to a level 8.
Correct. It doesn't say what it would be as, it just says it wouldn't be. And be true. I don't know. Will?
Yeah, so I mean, but then.
But then they would have to make a motion
You could make a new
to
one.
establish
You
a
could make a
new
new one
level.
to send it to whatever somebody wanted to make a motion.
Yeah.
Let me make an amendment to my motion,
Okay.
if I can, to raise the Playhouse director from pay grade 5 to pay grade 6.
I had Scott Brown making the motion.
Yeah, Scott
Yes,
made-
it was Scott.
Scott
and
made the
you
motion.
supported.
Okay, I'll make the motion to change it from a 5 to a 6. You have to second it then.
All right, there we go.
All right. It's been moved and
So
seconded.
now we're not voting yes or no on whether she goes to an 8, we're voting on whether she goes from a 5 to a 6.
Yeah. So yes, we approve that.
A yes to approve that.
Okay.
It's optional.
I guess the only problem I see with it is if it gets voted down, then she stays at a 5.
Unless there's a motion to do some other level.
Okay, I understand, I see it, okay. Got it.
Are we ready to vote on this?
Is Brenda ready?
I don't know, we'll see. Are we ready?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, here we go. Brown,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Kavala,
No.
Siginga,
Yes.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes,
It passes.
so that passes.
She's at a level 6.
Currently.
So I can make a motion that she goes from a level 6 to a 7.
Yes, you can.
Okay, I so moved.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to make it from a 6 to a 7.
Mhm.
We have a motion and a second. We have discussion.
I would like to know the difference in the pay, the amount from 6 to 7.
What'd you say?
Looks like roughly
around another
$5,000, Steve. Rough.
It was roughly 5,000 from a 5 to a 6.
Okay.
Now it would roughly be another 5,000.
So the number, yeah, the
6 to a
numbers I got
7.
here says 58,071,
Is that
64,160.
close, Alyssa?
81,874 for a 7, 74,098 for a 6.
74, 81, about 6,500, somewhere in that neighborhood.
That's more than it says on the,
You're looking at a number that I use it for, I create it with a formula, because I have to guess what a person would use for benefits during the year. So some of their salary is mixed in with fringe benefit wages.
So it's pension
It's a
and health
guess.
and that.
it's, but